Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Affordable Flyers, Midwest Aviation Expo concludes on a high note. ANN test flies the Flight Design F2. We also test fly the Vashon Ranger. And I'm your host, Holland Lee. Welcome to Airborne Affordable Flyers, our programming designed to help you get and stay in aviation as affordably as possible. Overseen by the editorial staff of the award-winning Sport Plane Resource Guide, we know well the challenges faced by today's sport flyers, and we're here to help you enjoy flying to the utmost. Let's get into today's stories. Midwest Aviation Expo concludes on a high note. The recently concluded Midwest Aviation Expo, hosted by the Mount Vernon Outland Airport, is a modest but overtly positive event in the sport aviation world. Led by airport boss Chris Collins, one of the best in the biz, the event has been going on for 17 years and emphasizes a close and personal opportunity for companies to display their wares and for potential customers to spend time looking them over, with a heavy emphasis on demo rides for the LSA and sport plane companies showcasing their birds. Based at a very good airport, the amount of flight activity conducted and conducted safely is impressive, while seminars, a good restaurant, and tremendous visitor support and events make the expo a very pleasant affair to visit or do business. Most aircraft displays are based out on the spacious front ramp, with tents and tie-downs anchored to the ramp itself, and a leisurely stroll through the rows of sport planes is a great way to spend an afternoon. Despite the modest size of the event, a fair amount of business is reported, while the lack of an air show and other distractions makes access to each vendor an easy affair. And the atmosphere is one that is both friendly as well as informal. It makes for a surprisingly great little event. Be sure to put it on your calendar for 2026. After the break, Sun & Fun's Early Bird Special, tickets live for the 2026 Expo.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Welcome back. Now let's take a trip around the patch for some shorter stories. Sun & Fun's Early Bird Special, tickets live for the 2026 Expo. Early bird tickets for Sun & Fun's 52nd Annual Aerospace Expo, celebrating red, white, and blue at 52, have officially gone live, with all proceeds supporting educational initiatives through the Aerospace Center for Excellence. The 2026 event will be held on Sun & Fun's Lakeland Linder International Airport campus from April 14th to 19th. Daily and weekly passes are available, plus upgrades like RV and aircraft camping, preferred seating, and VIP perks for those looking to go all out. Kids 12 and under get in free. Rotax publishes service instruction for Advanced Start System for 912 series. The folks at Rotax have just published a service instruction letter for the Rotax Advanced Start System for Rotax engine type 912 series engines. Full integration of the new flywheel and Advanced Start modules allow for a noticeably smoother engine start. By advancing the engine timer to after TDC and having this advanced startup timing continue for several seconds after startup, the engine is allowed to start at reduced power. WAI celebrates 11th Annual International Girls in Aviation Day. Thousands of girls ages 8 to 18 around the world on September 20th will be able to experience the 11th Annual Girls in Aviation Day in their local communities through unique events hosted by Women in Aviation International chapters and corporate members. WAI also offers additional virtual resources, activities, information, and instructional videos via the free Aviation for Girls app, available year-round. Already over 190 events are planned at airports, FBOs, museums, and hangars across 40 U.S. states, 2 U.S. territories, and 30 countries across North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Aero-TV, Rotax power on the van's RV9, a match made in heaven. Don't miss a new Aero-TV feature shot at Oshkosh, looking at Lockwood Aviation's turnkey solution to make the van's RV9A a high-altitude, high-speed, and high-efficiency cruiser, a firewall forward kit with the 160 horsepower Rotax 916 IS. Every bit of the package is tailored to the airframe for a simple yet sturdy engine swap. The performance numbers speak for themselves: 190 knots at 19,000 feet, burning 8.5 gallons per hour. Economy cruise settings deliver 150 knots at 4.5 gallons per hour at 19,000 feet. A cruise climb at 120 knots produces more than 800 feet per minute, while still staying in the 8.5 to 8.8 gallons per hour range. That's it for today's Trip Around the Patch. Let's get back to the rest of the news. ANN test flies the flight design F2. There are a lot of sport planes out there, and while ANN's chief test pilot Jim Campbell has flown well over 1,000 unique types, there are still a lot of birds on his must-fly list. One of them was the flight design F2. Jim says the F2 is not a modified CT series bird. It's distinctively different and is most definitely not your father's CT. The Rotax 912IS powered F2 is a spacious, easily accessible high-wing, trike-geared, side-by-side bird, devoid of wing struts and utilizing 2 mongo-sized doors on either side. Entry and exit are a far easier task than expected, with a very wide 51-inch cockpit and an insanely well-engineered control system in terms of placement, range of control, and lack of mechanical friction. Taxiing uses an obedient nose-wheel steering system with braking actuated by pulling all the way back on the throttle. In the air, the F2 was as pleasant a first test flight experience as he's had all year. Stability and control are well-defined, obedient, fairly linear until you get into slow flight regimes, and the slow flight profile is child's play, with little tendency toward hard stall behavior, and after battling the rudder and ailerons around, there was no tendency towards auto-rotation as well. Cruise speeds are in the neighborhood of 105 to 115 knots with various power settings, and the only trick to landing it after crossing the numbers at 60 knots is remembering to resist the urge to flare too high. We'll have more to say shortly, but the Flight Design F2 is a solid Grade A aircraft, earning a rare outstanding rating from the ANN and SportPlane Resource Guide team. After these messages, we fly the Vashon Ranger.
Direct Fly USA proudly introduces the new Alto NG, a single-engine, 2-seat light sport aircraft for the North American market. This simple, all-metal aircraft design provides low-maintenance cost, easy, comfortable access, and responsive flight controls. Equipped with the Rotax 912 engine and a ballistic parachute, the Alto NG is reliable and safe. Learn more about the Alto NG at directflyusa.com.
Well, hello, fellow pilot. I'm John King.
And I'm Martha King.
You know, we've all had our flying lives disrupted lately.
Well, King Schools is here to help you stay up to date with courses that you can access on your desktop, iPad, or iPhone. If you'd like a refresher or just want to expand your aviation horizons, we have a course for you.
So head over to kingschools.com/Rusty today for details.
Welcome back. We fly the Vashon Ranger. Another bird that was long awaited for a flight test was the Vashon Ranger, possibly the only real LSA configured bird on the field using an honest-to-God Continental O-200 power plant, just like everyone flew in way too many Cessna 150s back in the day, but undoubtedly a bulletproof engine. Boosted as an all-American airplane, even though the O-200 is now built by a Chinese company, the Ranger tends towards a boxy look, but the wide doors and rugged structure make you forget the lack of aesthetics quickly. Entry and exit are easier than expected, and while the interior is somewhat utilitarian, the spacious 46-inch cockpit and massive windows make for a very spacious feel. Control is entirely conventional, well-placed stick and rudder pedals, complete with toe brakes that prove to be quite effective. Airborne after an easy takeoff, despite surprisingly gusty winds right off the deck, the Ranger assumed a 600 to 700 feet per minute climb with a pretty heavy load, close to gross, and just a tad ahead of CG. Control response is obedient, but never sensitive, while stability investigations yielded very well-defined static margins and a decidedly positive dynamic profile. Slow flight was a non-event, with very little tendency toward sudden departures, and just a mild route buffet when using all 40 degrees of very draggy flaps. Cruise seems about set at 105 knots or so, while fuel consumption is barely 4 gallons per hour. Landings require a little discipline in regards to flare altitude, and the Ranger is a bit of a floater, but it also slips like a dream and is no runway hog. More to come as well on this bird, but the overall impression is a very good one, especially well suited to flight training. We highly recommend. And that's our show for today. You can catch episodes of Airborne on YouTube, Roku, or Fire TV. Just search for Aero-News or Airborne. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Thanks for watching.